other side of the aisle wants to do. Pete Sessions made the mistake of coming clean on Meet the Press a few weeks ago. When they said, we know what you're against, you've articulated that very clearly for the last year and a half. What are you for? And he used the phrase, exact same agenda. We need to go back to the exact same agenda as when the Republicans controlled the House of Representatives. And we had leadership like Tom DeLay. We had a guy named George W. Bush in the White House. That would take us back. And if you think about what's at stake and whether they're serious about that when they say we want to go back to the exact same agenda, listen to John Boehner. He would be, let's hope the adjective speaker and the name Boehner never go together in anything but a hypothetical sentence. But if they were to win back the House of Representatives, John Boehner would be speaker. Now, he has said we need to repeal health care. Not just tweak it here or there, or this part doesn't work, but if you repeal health care, and my opponent has said we need to repeal health care, what are we doing? We're going back to the times when the insurance companies run the show. We're going back to putting the donut hole back in Medicare Part D for our seniors. We're going back to when insurance companies could say, well, after you get sick, we're going to rescind your coverage. He said we need to repeal the Wall Street Reform Bill. We don't need to be looking out over the shoulders of AIG or Goldman Sachs. It's not like anything nefarious was going on there. Not like there was systemic risk or maybe these little things called credit default swaps that even the smartest people in the finance world couldn't describe to you if you gave them a week to do it. But in addition, when they had their opportunity to write the alternative budget to what the president suggested, and you got a guy named Paul Ryan who would actually be, if they were to win back the House, Paul Ryan would be in charge of the budget committee. And what are his priorities? What was the Republican alternative budget? Privatize Social Security, turn Medicare into a voucher program. Now, these are ideas that were completely repudiated by the American people back in 2005 before they lost the House. They were repudiated in elections in 2006 and resulted in some of the change that we were all working for in 2006. And yet they want to go back to that. You got John Boehner who, when you put those things together, you realize he wants to take all the oversight away from the Wall Street banks and then hand your retirement over to him. That's a pretty good deal if you're in the New York financial industry. It's not such a great deal if you worked all your life paying into Medicare, paying into Social Security so that you could have a middle-class retirement. I can tell you, my parents, they both spent their entire careers working for companies, planning for their retirement, but oftentimes because of the decisions their companies made, the private portion of their retirement was never as big as it was advertised at the front end. And if it weren't for their Social Security, they wouldn't be living a middle-class, respectable retirement the way they are today. We need to fight for those things. We can't take our country back to that. And the way we do that is we can draw a line in the sand in New Mexico. Because they cannot take over the House of Representatives without coming through New Mexico. They need to win Harry Teague's seat. They need to win my seat to be able to take over the House of Representatives. And if they fail in this year, when every environmental factor you can imagine is working in their direction, I think you will have seen the apex moment of the Republican Party. Because they're attacking their own at this point. They're taking the most reasonable, the most proactive, the good legislators within their own party, and they're punishing them in the primary process. In the House, Jim, I'm next to a guy named Bob Inglis. We don't agree on a lot of things. He came in 1994 with the Newt Gingrich Revolution. He's not exactly, I wouldn't call him a moderate, much less open to some of the issues on the more progressive side of the spectrum. He just lost his primary because he wasn't angry enough. He wasn't extreme enough. That's what's happening on the other side. If we can hold on to the House of Representatives through this cycle, to the Senate through this cycle, there is so much more work to be done. On clean energy legislation that we haven't seen go through the Senate yet, on fixing the Citizens United decision, the other of two of the most fundamentally misguided Supreme Court decisions in the last 50 years. immigration reform, the list goes on and on. You know, we can get those things done, but only if we're able to hang on to a functional majority and continue to govern, continue to rebuild our economy in this country in a way so that when my kids grow up here, if they decide to go off someplace else, so be it. But if they want to grow up in Albuquerque and work here, they ought to be able to find a good job and raise their kids with quality education. We can build that kind of a future here in New Mexico if we can survive this election cycle. That's why I need help from all of you to continue the progress that we've built on so far. You know, I'm sure that we haven't agreed on absolutely everything, but I will not shrink from difficult decisions. And if I disagree with you, I'm going to have a reason for it. And we're going to get good things done for Central New Mexico as a result. We have just started. And imagine if we can then go into 2012 in a presidential year with President Barack Obama at the top of the ticket and rebuild some of